So this is not exactly what we expected to be doing in the beginning part of our year, but we have some exciting news.
As you know, we have two amazing kids in our family, and we have just discovered that we are going to be growing our family by another child. So I am pregnant, and we are about to go in to have a dating ultrasound and figure out when this little one is due and will be joining our family. But we wanted to share the exciting news with you guys and then take you along with the journey of figuring out what that means for our year, what that means for planning pregnancy care on the road, planning a birth location, and then continuing to travel, because that is currently our plan and our goal, but we want to make sure that we do all of this the right way, and we're going to share it all with you guys as we go along.
We've talked a lot about having a third child, and I guess now it's going to happen, so...
Right, we're Christian, and we, in a way, think, God's timing on this must have been perfect, and because we had been considering it, He made it happen. We feel very excited, but we also feel a little, nervous and a little overwhelmed, truthfully, about all the planning that's going to go into it, because the year will look different than we originally thought it would, but we still have travel plans, and we still are gonna continue to be RVers. So let's see what happens. We will let you know how this goes. We'll be back in a minute.
See you in a bit. And we're back.
Just like that, about 2 hours has passed, but we have great news. We went in, had an ultrasound, we saw a little munchkin baby, super cute. And
still way too early to find out the gender, of course, but wow, it's real, it's happening. We've got a lot of plans to put in place now, so...
But this is a relief just to see the baby and to know that, at least from the limited ultrasound, things look good. And we were approximately right on our ideas of how far along I am. So I am about 8-ish weeks, 8.5 or so. So we can make plans for our subsequent appointments, start looking at where our insurance coverage gives us options and where we're gonna go. So we will talk more as we figure out more and lay out the plan, what that looks like for us, tips for anyone who's watching who may be wondering how in the world you can have a baby on the road and still do some travel. It has now been another several weeks, and I'm into the second trimester of my pregnancy, and I'm feeling pretty good. As they often say, things get a little easier as you get into the second trimester, and I can agree with that, as far as having less nausea and fatigue, and that is all a good thing.
Yes, especially as we're now getting ready to travel toward where Christine will be having subsequent appointments and seeing some things along the way.
Once we did the dating ultrasound that we showed you earlier, we were able to use that info on how far along things were to talk with some care providers and really start making some plans.
We considered several options based on our insurance coverage, including going back to Florida where we are residents and finding a doctor there, going back to Colorado where we had our other kids, or somewhere new entirely closer to family.
So we decided that for us, it made the most sense to get care in Colorado, where I would be comfortable already knowing what to expect. And having had a great experience before with our other two kids, it would also be one less thing to do. I mean, finding a whole new place that met our criteria would be a lot of work. And then I had several conversations with the care team there in Colorado to make sure that it would actually work out with us being RVers and to see what would or wouldn't be possible, and just what the best approach would be for ensuring a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby.
We had been reading about and talking with friends who were pregnant while traveling and some different approaches that other people have taken. Some immediately find a place and find a house, then are stationary there for the duration. Others keep traveling and find medical care in different locations as they go, and then find a final provider for the end of the pregnancy and birth. And then others travel back and forth to their main provider throughout, and that's what we'll do.
Yep, we have a plan in place with our midwife team at a Colorado hospital for the main appointments that I'll need and that we will be there for. And then we're going to be able to travel between those visits, which is pretty awesome. Of course, if anything should change or any concerns arise, I might have to see them more frequently, and then we would update the plan for that.
We immediately then booked campgrounds there to coincide with our appointments to make sure we had a place to stay. Those were really the most critical reservations. We also needed a plan for the end of pregnancy when we needed to be local until after the birth. We looked at renting a home for a few months, getting an Airbnb or other furnished temporary housing, campground cabins, and local campgrounds. A lot of that was really expensive and a multi-month commitment.
So in the end, we decided to get a reservation at a nice RV resort where we could stay for a whole month. The rest of the time will mostly be in state parks. They're a lot cheaper, but they also have a 14-day stay limit, and we really don't want to risk a move day that happens to coincide with me going into labor or us being at the hospital. No thanks. I will be so much more comfortable being able to stay in our home as well, the RV. I mean, here I have my comfy mattress, all of our things are here, and the kids' things. It's where we'll be prepared with everything that we need for welcoming the new baby. So it just makes the most sense. Also, the RV resort is going to be a ton of fun for the kids. It's kind of a special treat that we thought we'd give them. It has pools and a little water park, so they can have something special too, because their whole world is about to be different too.
Yeah, it still ended up being kind of expensive, but it was a whole lot less than getting a house. So, on to travel. We'll be seeing a few things on the way from here to Colorado, both in California and Utah, that we're gonna love to share with you guys. And between our appointments, we're planning 3 main trips. One south from Colorado into New Mexico and Texas, then the longest is heading to Michigan through the Upper Peninsula, northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, and all the way back to Colorado. So then finally that 3rd trip will be a trip within Colorado, so we don't have to travel too far during that point, but we can still do some fun things.
Definitely. We'll be sticking around Colorado a little bit after the baby is born as well to make sure we're both doing well and do those appointments that are pretty much all back to back to back in the first couple months, but then we'll continue to travel.
We have several states on our map that we'll still need to see at that point, plus we want to get back to visiting relatives in Germany at some point and introduce the new baby. All of that will still be coming up too. So that is the general plan as we know it so far.
Right, we know that could change along the way for any number of reasons. I mean, we want to make sure the baby is always healthy and the pregnancy is going well. Those are the most important things. You know, that I'm feeling good and still up for traveling as we get further along. And so if any of that isn't the case, then we'll adjust.
That's the nice thing about full-time RV travel, the freedom and flexibility.
Thanks for sharing in this great news with us, and we hope you follow along for the rest of the journey.
Catch you all later.